Let's talk about the ongoing crackdown on alleged anomalous flood control projects in PDP-Laban Deputy Spokesperson Atty. Ferdinand Topacio. Thank you for joining us, Attorney.
Is in aid of legislation as amended. We now
Yes, good morning, and good morning to the millions of viewers and listeners of your program.
Well, thank you again, Attorney, for joining us. You had initially
My
said...
pleasure and honor.
Thank you, thank you. But you said initially in a press conference, Attorney, that all of this probe na nangyayari ay for show lang po. Can you elaborate?
Well, for one, we are amused that it is the President himself who is supervising or visiting the supposed sites of these anomalous flood control projects. That is not the job of the President. That is why he has an alter ego in the person of the Secretary of the DPWH. Number two, we are also mystified as to why, although the President gave a list of 15 contractors supposedly involved in anomalous projects, there is a singling out of only one, which is St. Timothy / Alpha Omega / St. Gerard. Whatever happened to the others, especially the others, wherein there are reports that there are links to not only sitting congressmen but House leaders of the House of Representatives. And number three, why is there no action as against the erring DPWH officials? Ang sabi ko nga po doon sa aming press con kahapon, it takes two to tango, and with respect to flood control, it takes more than two to tango. So, yan pong mga flood control projects na yan, as is the case for all other projects, yan po ay made under the specifications of the DPWH. Of course, there is a private contractor that implements the projects, but once the projects are reported to be completed, it is the DPWH that inspects and makes a report on whether or not it was completed in accordance with the standards set by the DPWH. Pero bakit walang sinisibak o minimension man lamang na opisyal ng DPWH?
Attorney, you mentioned that the President himself is conducting the investigation. Dapat sabi mo DPWH Secretary. Ang problema, all of this happened under his watch for the longest time. Ngayon, are you in favor of the proposal of at least also Congressman Sandro Marcos na let's just have a third party investigate everything muna?
Yes, precisely. Because for one, Congress, well, I'm sorry to say this, but the leadership of the House of Representatives not only does not have the credibility, but does not have the moral ascendancy to be conducting an investigation on these projects. Whitewash lang yan sigurado sapagkat ang reports, marami po sa kanila ang involved. Number two, pwede naman pong mag-imbestiga ang Pangulo, ngunit within the sphere of his influence, which is the executive branch. Sabi po nga namin, kung ganyan palang scope ng anomaly, ng skandalo, dyan sa tinatawag nga po naming floodgate, bakit hindi suspend ang Secretary of Public Works and Highways? Because siya yung alter ego, siya yung pagdating sa ganyang field ng governance, ng executive, siya ang ultimately responsible. Number three, dapat po talaga magkaroon ng independent third party, a board of inquiry, ngunit bakit ni-reject ng Pangulo? Yung po na offer ni Mayor Benjie Magalong na siya ang mag-head nitong Truth Commission, so to speak, na ito. Natatakot ba sila kay Mayor Benjie Magalong because he is a person whose principles are not compromised because he will call it as he sees it, katulad ng ginawa niya roon sa Sub 44 Board of Inquiry. So bakit ayaw nila si Mayor Magalong?
Well, you have raised several issues and points earlier, Attorney, and I was wondering, having said that, do you believe na by saying na parang selective yung mga contractors na DDN sa initial report ng Pangulo, ay he is not really sincere in this investigation of anomalous flood control projects?
Well, at first we were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, pero now we doubt the benefit. Dahil not only do we think he is not sincere in rejecting the offer of Mayor Magalong, ngunit by singling out certain contractors, parang nagkakaroon lang po ng smoke screen Anong nang ginagawa po ng Pangulo natin parang AIDS, as if doing something. O yung tinatawag ng mga new generation na mema sabi lang. He's trying to put up the impression na siya ay on top of the situation when in fact it is all full of sound and fury signifying nothing.
So, sino po ba sa tingin po ninyo, aside from the suggestion of Mayor Magalong, ay ang nakikita niyo po na will give us a credible probe into this flood control projects? Nakikita niyo po na third party na po pwedeng mag-investigate?
I would not hazard a guess po. But kung ihahalin tulad na lang natin to by analogy, kung natatandaan nyo po, but ang problema, both of you are too young to remember the Agrava Commission.
I remember that, kay Ninoy.
In the aftermath of the assassination of Ninoy Aquino. It was composed of men and women of demonstrated and unimpeachable probity and integrity. Mga retired justices po, nandyan si Justice Agrava, nandoon po si Justice, ang dami po mga retired justices doon. Ang pinopropose ko po, mga retired justices, yan si Mayor Magalong, he is a mayor, wala po siyang vested interest dyan, wala siyang connection sa mga contractors. In fact, siyang whistleblower dyan to chair it. Mga retired na mga justices, mga retired, probably a retired ombudsman or retired DOJ secretaries, basta yung mga retirado po na who are willing to dedicate the remaining days of their years sa service ng ating bansa. Yan po ang pinakamagandang i-create. We will leave it up to the sound discretion of the President kung talagang gusto niyang i-demonstrate sa taong bayan na siya ay sincero, that he wants to get to the bottom of this with utmost good faith.
Well, parehas kayo ni Mayor Magalong sa sinabi. He was also suggesting retired justices and PNP officials.
Pero with that, kasi maybe that would be a good idea. Kasi attorney, what I've been talking to people and they were telling me na all of a sudden, naging part of the SONA yung pagbanggit ni Pangulo about the corruption in flood control projects. All of a sudden, all the local officials are coming out. Supposedly, they're concerned and they're angry. Well, I wasn't also born yesterday, and I know this has been happening for the longest time. And all of a sudden, they are all concerned. So, balang, how deep do you think this is, attorney? How deep does this go? Safe to say that it's only retired justices that could credibly investigate this?
Opo, this has been going on, to be fair, to the Marcos administration. This is not a phenomenon endemic or unique to the present administration. This has been going on for some time. At ngalalim po ito. At kung in the case of Mayor Magalong, matagal na po, in fairness also to him, matagal na niyan dinedenounce ito. Kaya lang he used to be a voice in the wilderness. Walang nakikinig sa kanya until eto nga, dumating na yung dalawang magkasunod na bagyo at tayong lahat ay nag-swimming dito sa Metro Manila and the neighboring provinces, at buti naman ay kahit papano ay napapunta sa pansin ito ng Pangulo, which is a good sign. It shows that he's listening to the people, to the clamor and complaints of the people. Ngunit, at tama po kayo, all of a sudden, bakit ngayon lang nagreklamo yung mga local officials? Bakit ngayon lang nagpabibo itong ating mga congressmen? When all along, ang bulong-bulungan, hindi ko sinasabing totoo o hindi, ay involved ang mga congressmen, involved ang mga local government officials, at involved yung mga district officials all the way to the top echelon of the DPWH. So kailangan po talaga magkaroon ng sinatawag na independent commission para yung mga bulong-bulungan, mga chismis-chismis dyan, ma-validate natin whether they are true or not. And once and for all, institute measures to avoid this kind of problem in the future. Hindi lang po sa flood control, kundi sa lahat po ng infrastructure. Talamak po talaga yung ganyang kalakaran according to silent whispers that are now becoming louder and louder.
That's what I wanted to ask you, Attorney. Kasi initially, we're just talking about the flood control projects and ang laking amount na pinag-uusapan dito. And since we're there na rin, that commission should just look into everything altogether. Kasi nakakatakot po, Attorney, sa baha, nakita natin ang epekto of haphazard planning. Ano pa kayang bridges? Ano pa kayang public structures na that can be a danger to our mga kababayan if malaman natin hindi pala pure cement ang linagay, mali ang pagkagawa.
O tama po, pero sa ngayon, ang amin pong stand dito ay mag-focus po tayo sa flood control because that is what is immediately needed ngayon pong monsoon season. Number 2, pagka nakita po natin ang formula dito sa flood control, ang tingin ko po, yan na rin po ang formula
sa
na
lahat
ginagamit na kalakaran doon sa ibang infra project. So, when we crack this tough nut, that is the flood control scandal, palagay ko, madali nang i-crack yung ibang mga infra, yung mga bridges, yung mga buildings, mga kalye, pati yung mga sinasabi ni Mayor Magalong na cat's eye, mga rock netting, mga refrapping, palagay ko po, almost the same formula po yan na sinusunod. So, once we crack this, domino effect na po yan. That is why it is really imperative for the President to show strong leadership by immediately, ito, gagamitin ko na naman yung favorite word ng mga legislators natin, to forthwith create by executive fiat an independent commission headed by Mayor Magalong to really get to the bottom of this. That's how the President will get to the bottom of this. Hindi yung literally bottom na nagpadala siya ng mga divers doon. Hindi po yung bottom of this na kailangan natin. Ang kailangan natin bottom of this ay yung talagang root cause nitong kalakarang ito.
All right. Of course, people are asking as well. You raised several issues also during your press conference yesterday, along with others that you were with. The question here is, what is the end goal of PDP-Laban? Dahil nga po sa mga statements po ninyo, especially here in flood control projects.
Ang end goal po namin is, ito po ay in consonance with our platform na ang priority po namin ay good governance, anti-corruption at hindi po yan lip service sa PDP po. At kahit a third party, a private person, si engineer or architect June Palafox, sinabi po niya during the Duterte administration, of course, we cannot really eliminate corruption 100%, pero nabawasan po talaga ng husto. Only for the same thing to be repeated under the present administration. Ang endgame po namin ay talagang, obviously, matanggal ang corruption sapagkat yung corruption po, iyan po ang talagang, it keeps the Philippines down.
Yes.
Alam niyo po, napag-iwanan na tayo ng ating mga kapitbahay, so to speak, dito sa ASEAN. Can you imagine, ang Vietnam po, na kailan lamang 50 years ago lang yata, ay nagpapatayan sila. Ngayon may sa sarili ng car brand, yung VinFast.
That's right.
Tinitinda na rito sa Pilipinas. Lahat po na pag-iwanan na tayo, kawawa naman tayo, and the one single reason that keeps us down is corruption. Not only corruption, rampant and shameless corruption na normalized na po.
I'd like to ask you, Attorney, well, you mentioned it already, corruption. A lot of people have been saying, therefore, should the President be the one to investigate all of this, given that he himself, his family, in general, has been part of corruption allegations, and one case has been already ruled with finality from the Supreme Court?
Well, constitutionally, wala pong choice ang ating Pangulo. He is the chief executive. Sabi nga po nila, the buck stops here. But of course, he cannot pretend that he has the competence. Wag na nating pag-usapan yung karakter, sapagkat i-divorce natin yung kanyang personal sa pagiging chief executive niya. As chief executive, he has not only the power but the obligation, the duty to investigate this. Ngunit siyempre, ang training niya ay iba. That's why he has alter egos.
That's right.
Yung mga cabinet niya. Ngunit, yun nga po, tama po kayo, and not only does it appear that yung head ng DPWH ay may pananagutan somehow kahit command responsibility, ngunit mukhang involved not only family. Hindi ko sinasabing totoo po ito, ha?
Yeah.
There are reports that family and close political allies are involved. So while he has the duty to conduct a parallel investigation, it would be better by far. It would be more credible. It would be more believable and more thorough kung magkikreate siya by executive fiat, by executive order lamang po, kayang-kaya po niya. It is well within his powers to create a board of inquiry and vest that board of inquiry with such powers as possessed by the executive branch to conduct a thorough and honest to goodness and a credible investigation.
Well, Attorney, you also mentioned during your interviews yesterday regarding the district engineers of DPWH that you said medyo malalim-lalim din yung mga involvement nito dito sa mga alleged flood control projects na mga anomalous, ano? Can you elaborate that as well?
Alam niyo po, eto nga, natatawa nga ako may isang ini-interview pong economist daw from UP na sinasabi niyang marami daw rumors na ganito, ganon, pero nasaan ang resibo? Akin po, paano ko kakaroon ng resibo? Clandestine nga to sabrosa nga. Corruption nga ito Sinong unghang ba ang admit na sila ay corrupt? Ngunit, alam niyo po, since time out of mind na yata, alam naman po natin na yung district congressmen have a say kung sino magiging district engineer. Ang mga district congressmen, they have a say kung anong mga proyekto ang gusto nila. Although they're supposed to be legislators. So yun po ang sinasabi ko. Hindi po pwede yung contractor lang ang nandaya. Meron po yan before a project starts, binibigyan niyan po ng technical specifications. Sasabihin ng DPWH, eto may project kami, flood control, eto ang haba, eto materyales, eto ang aim para hindi mag-overflow, say, etong river na ito. Eto yung plano. Ipapakita nila sa mga contractors yung planong yan, magbibid. Then, i-approve yung bid. So yung back has an integral role to play. Right. Dito sa corruption na ito. Hindi ko sinasabing lahat ng back, ngunit ina-approve po nila yung contractor kung qualified and then they award the project. Merong number of days yan. Tinitingnan nila po yung progress niyan. Yung kung 30%, 40%, 50%, minsan ano po yan progress release yung kanilang pondo. Then pagtapos na yan, tinitingnan nila kung built according to the specifications ng DPWH. So, kung titignan nyo po yan, we cannot just focus on the contractors. We have to investigate yung DPWH and then thereafter, ino-audit po yan kung tama. So, ang dami pong mga players dyan na dapat imbestigahan by the President focusing on contractors and even a few contractors, wala pong mangyayari dyan. Pakitang tao lang po yan. It's just a stage play for the consumption of the people to show na may ginagawa siya.
Well, medyo mahabang usapin pa to, Attorney, but we hope to keep in touch with you especially Blue Ribbon is starting today. No? Well, we hope to keep in touch with you for more updates. But for the meantime, thank you, PDP-Laban Deputy Spokesperson Attorney Ferdinand Topacio, for joining us once again.